President Numbnuts visited Puerto Rico in the wake of the disastrous hurricanes, and he made some comments about the mass shooting in Vegas while he was getting on the plane. So let's see what he had to say here. Listen carefully. You're going to hear like some airplane noise in the background, so it's hard, but pay close attention, and I think you'll get what he says.
We have a tragedy. We're going to do, and what happened in Las Vegas is in many ways a miracle. The police department has done such an incredible job, and we'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by. But I do have to say, how quickly the police department was able to get in was really very much of a miracle. They've done an amazing job. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so he didn't say it once, he said it twice. He said what happened in Vegas is in many ways a miracle. And then he says, he clarifies a little bit, and he says, well, what happened in Vegas with how fast the police responded, it was a miracle. I don't get why we let comments like this slide. Because this is something, different iterations of this we see rather often when it comes to, there will be some horrific disaster that happens, and then they go talk to one family whose house maybe, survived Category 4, Category 5 hurricane winds. And they ask them and they say, oh yes, it's a miracle. God, spared our house or something. And think about how dumb of a thing to say that is, because every other house around you got destroyed. Countless people were killed. An island got wiped out by a hurricane. And we're talking about, oh, but yes, there's one house. God is a loving God. God's a loving God. What about the other fucking thousands of people around you who just got their houses destroyed and lost loved ones and whatnot? It's just such a brainless thing to say. So when he's like, oh yes, it's a miracle. It's a tremendous miracle. It's a miracle. And his argument is because the cops showed up somewhat fast. 59 people were slaughtered. Over 500 people are injured. It's literally the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. Those poor people were sitting ducks for over 10 minutes. Over 10 minutes, this guy was shooting them like fish in a barrel. It's a miracle. Miracle how fast the cops got there. Oh my God, man. But you know why he does this, right? And again, you can see it in the other videotapes. You go watch for yourself. Trump doing the press conference in Puerto Rico, sitting around and telling everybody, tell us the tremendous job FEMA is doing. It's unbelievable. It really is. And he would go one by one, and everybody around him would praise him. He's done this in multiple press conferences where he has all of his cabinet around him, and he goes one by one and basically had told them, all right, when I call on you, you praise me. And they go around and they say, oh, Mr. President, it's amazing working with you. It really is. You're doing such a great job for the American people, and we're making America great again. And every single person praises him, and puffs up his ego. Because that's who he is. That's what he does. It's unbridled, unfiltered narcissism. He's a walking id. And every story you see, there's at least one story a day that proves that comes out. Another one that didn't make the cut for the show, but it makes sense to bring it up in the context of this story. He claims to be the club champion at all 19 of his golf courses. First of all, do you have any idea how hard it is to win a single club championship? Second of all, you won 19 of them. That's just simply not true. That's just totally and utterly made up. But he can't help himself because he's got to spin everything as great when he's involved. I'm president now. I'm president, and there was the worst mass shooting that ever happened in U.S. history that just happened right now. Look, in many ways, it's a miracle because the first responders are tremendous. He was comparing, in the Puerto Rico press conference, he was comparing the casualty numbers from Katrina to Puerto Rico. And he goes, how many died in Katrina? Thousands. Thousands died in Katrina. How many died here in Puerto Rico? 16. Only 16 here. We've done a tremendous job. That's not something that's worthy of saying. Like, oh, way more people died there. Only a few died here, so we've done a great job. And by the way, that's not even necessarily true. We really don't know the total devastation yet from Puerto Rico because the government workers who do the death certificates haven't showed up for work because they can't show up for work because 90% of the island, the electricity's still out and the fucking trees are still blocking the road and people can't get from one place to another. People are literally in need of food and water and starving. And he's like, oh, 16 dead. There are thousands dead elsewhere. We've really done a tremendous job, an unbelievable job. That's not even true. But even if it were true, why the fuck would you brag about that? Because he has to try to spin everything as amazing because he's president. So that he knows the buck stops there with him. So everything is at his doorstep and he's in charge and he's got to take the lead and fix a lot of these things. So he has to spin everything. Oh, mass shooting. There was a mass shooting. But you know what? In many ways, it was a miracle. It was a miracle because first responders showed up. He's just a baby. He's just an unserious man-child. He has no ability to self-perceive, you know? That was the other story that blew up, was him fucking, as people were lined up in Puerto Rico, you know, to get food and supplies and whatnot, he's fucking basketball shooting toilet paper into the audience. Because he's a kid. You know, he views these things, I'm playing the leader role. I'm macho man. Watch, I'm gonna fly in a plane. Say, oh, look, I landed. This is all about me, right? Let's make this. Let's have a press conference, talk about how tremendous this is. I'll help the people. I'll help them. Here, basketball shot. Yeah, wipe your ass with this. Yeah. Nobody's in control. Nobody's in control. This reminds me of the Q&A when somebody asked me, what's the one issue that keeps you up at night now? There's a bunch of issues that are systematic that I brought up. Like, okay, climate change, money, and politics. Those are probably the two biggest concerns overall. But today what keeps me up the most is probably North Korea. Because Donald Trump is the commander-in-chief. He's clearly impulsive and thin-skinned and childish. Doesn't understand the consequences of his actions. And then you got Kim Jong-un, who's a man-baby dictator. And these two clowns have been escalating for a while now. And, you know, we're basically depending on the people around these people to be reasonable enough to disregard Trump and Kim Jong-un when they decide to go all out. And that's a scary thing. People don't know how close, you know, there are a few stories about how close we were to nuclear annihilation between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, you know, back during the Cold War. And there were a few people that, like, prevented it, who weren't the leaders, who were the people who were under the leaders, who are supposed to just follow orders, and they didn't. And you just have to, I'm just hoping that there's enough reasonable people around Trump and Kim Jong-un to, like, just pump the brakes a little bit, you know? Because I don't trust those motherfuckers. They don't get the consequences of their actions. And we're on the brink of war with them. I feel like that's the biggest concern, because with just how fast they're escalating and how clear the escalation is, it looks to me like there's over a 50% chance of some sort of military conflict between North Korea and the rest of the world. So, scary times, man. Very scary times.